Welcome everybody to our first series, our first show of Coffee with the Corsies. This is going to be a series of Dad and I questions and answers that you all love to hear. Every time Dad's in my Instagram feed, Facebook feed, I get so many DMs. The legend, Dan, where is he? Bring him back. So here he is beside me. And this series is a fun one. We're going to kind of go back to the years of starting the business, how it's changed, and some of the client stories that we had working together. So we hope you enjoy it. Thanks for watching.
Thank you. So I got in the industry, I think, back in 1979. And just prior to that, I used to own a gas station with a buddy of mine, and we ran a couple of service stations in New Westminster. And a couple of guys that used to come in the gas station, I still remember them. I won't mention them by name, but they'll probably know who they are. A couple of guys that used to be my customers in the gas station. And they used to come in driving flashy cars and having good-looking girls, in the car, and I'd be cleaning the windshield and looking at this going, oh, geez, I want this job, right? So, and they were both realtors. So when I was finished my gas station sort of career, my partner and I decided to move on. I decided that at that time I would go take the real estate course. So I went and took the real estate course and passed, of course. And from there I went to work at a little company called Team Realty. And at Team I was there with a bunch of characters that maybe we could talk about at another time. But we were there for a number of years, and then I moved on to Lakeview Realty. At that time, we decided to start our own company called Valley Pacific Realty. And Valley Pacific Realty started approximately 30 years ago. And there was 5 of us probably there at that time, and we got up to about 60 people. But then Ty decided to get into the business, and from there on, it's been straight upwards, I guess, right? But yeah, so we can discuss a little bit about when Ty came on board, which was about 17 years ago, I think, 16, 17 years ago.
18, going on 19.
Oh, geez, time flies.
19 years ago, Dad and I have seen some big changes in the industry. We started listing contracts, and for all you guys out there, paperwork realtors know that there's so many pages now. We started listing contracts with one page. It was carbon copies, press hard, tear the top off, yellow page goes to the office, pink page goes to the client, and white page we take. And we did that, and then the data sheet was 2 pages long. It was unbelievable how quick it could have been for a sale.
Yeah,
there was no paperwork.
And at that time, of course, there was no realtor.ca or anything like that. So we had 2 catalogs in the Fraser Valley. One was Langley and one was Surrey, basically, right? Surrey North Delta. So those catalogs you would get every Friday, every second Friday, the Surrey one would come, and then so on and so forth with the Langley one. And of course, then you would take those catalogs and you would, sit them down with your clients. And sometimes guys would get a few catalogs and share them with their clients that way, right? But that was the way you could look at listings. That was just about the only way. As well, we used to advertise in the newspaper. You remember the news? No, you don't.
Barely.
The newspaper's not around anymore, it seems, right? But at that time...
Yeah, to give you an idea of how much the market, the industry has changed, when I started the business, there was no Facebook, no Instagram, no Realtor.ca. There was, in fact, no fax machines. Fax machines came in before or after I was in the industry. We used to, like I said, I would go to the office, I would get the catalog, I'd open it up to Surrey apartments, and I would go in there and there'd be a couple pages missing, the prices that I wanted, between $50,000 and $100,000. Somebody tore out those pages to show their client. So now we got to wait 2 more weeks to find more apartments for sale. That's how it was finding apartments back then. It was difficult to find listings because you only had one source.
And I think, if I remember correctly, your first sale was almost in the first day or 2 of you working the job.
Yep.
I listed for some clients of mine on 128th in Surrey there in Panorama Ridge. And we listed a place there for like $250,000 or $60,000. And
$259,800.
Yeah.
Panorama Ridge, half acre, very first listing together.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm over there because there was no pole signs back then. All I use is lawn signs. So I'm hammering the sign in the lawn, and some guy pulls up in his flashy car and says, I'll take it. And so I go to my briefcase, and Dad always taught me to make sure you have contracts ready. Always have the paperwork. Bring the papers. So I had the paperwork in my briefcase, and we pressed hard on the hood of my truck at that time. I had a Jeep. And this guy bought the house for full price.
Yeah.
On the hood of the truck. No subjects. And of course, it was dual agency, because that was allowed back then. Every buyer can come directly to the listing agent. And we sold that house for full price. And that was my first sale where I remember calling Dad and saying, I love this. This is easy. And Dad said to me, son, they're not all going to be like that. That was the first day on the market, first sale. And I fell in love instantly with that rush of sales and helping people and it being very personable. And I just knew that I wanted to do this forever.
And those clients today, that's been a long run with those people, because those people, I could probably say their name, the Harveys, were clients of ours at that time. We not only sold that house, we sold their other home, sold them into Boundary Park and another house, sold them out of Boundary Park, sold their kids some properties as well. So it's that's the greatest part of the business, I think, for me, right? Because I've always taught him this right from the start. Never think of the money. Always think of just doing a good job for people. The money will always come. And I think that's always been important to remember.
And that's a good point.
And what did that place just list for?
Yeah, that place just went for sale for 1.875 or something like that.
1.8 million.
Yeah,
bucks.
I guess he should have never sold it. He should have bought it. Is what should have happened.
Yeah, I should have bought that.
Yeah. So anyway, that's I think there's been a lot of changes in our business over the years, of course, right? We could talk about a number of those changes, but I think with certain technologies that have come along and changed the business, it's been a good thing as well. But I can still remember the day they told me that one day you won't be wasting any paper in this industry. I'm still waiting for that day to happen, because it hasn't happened. But most of the stuff is online today. I know that, even here at Royal LePage, all the contracts and stuff like that come in, online, which is a great thing. But I still got to keep copies for myself, because you
Dad's
never know.
old school.
You never know.
He still said the other day, computers are going to cause a big problem. So here we are. But we got some stories. Dad, why don't we talk about some of those listings that we've had? We've walked in. Dad and I have gone to almost every listing appointment together since I started. Panorama Ridge, Sullivan Station, we'd walk through it every time. We just have developed this sense of it's so easy for Dad and I just to banter back and forth, joke with the client. My dad always taught me that he would say, talk about real estate for 5% of the time and 95% them. Pick up on things on their house, look at pictures on the wall, talk about their kids' hockey. You can see pictures. And I think that for me really worked well. When I go in listings now, I joke with them. We talk about real estate a little bit, but it's that personal side that instantly wins it over, and ultimately just becomes a great relationship working with those people. So Dad and I had the pleasure of going and seeing this lady in Fleetwood. I would say maybe that was about 15 years ago. And we just refer to her as the cat lady. She had 38 cats. All of them were in the home. Dad and I walked into the house, and just the smell of that dander in the air was so strong. We had a hard time breathing in this house, and she wanted us to come in there. And there's cats all over the place. Dad and I sit down at the table, and I remember looking at each other, and we pull these chairs out. She had these black chairs, and the material was absolutely covered in hair. And Dad and I are in our suits, and we're both hesitant to sit. And this lady's saying, "You guys got to sit down." And him and I look at each other like, "Oh, we don't want to," So we sit down at the table, and she says, "I'm going to go upstairs, and I'm going to get my glasses. You guys make yourself comfortable." Well, we're watching these cats run all over the island. They were on the kitchen counter. They were in the dish drying tray. And this one cat goes over and just licks all those utensils, the spatula and all that there. And Dad and I look at each other, we're laughing. And she comes back downstairs and grabs a couple glasses out of the dish drying rack and says, "Do you guys want some water?" Dad and I look at each other. I would have rather just died of starvation and thirst than had a glass of water from this house. And we had the conversation with her. We ended up listing her house and selling it. She put all her cats in a pen outside. And we went into that cul-de-sac outside, and him and I popped the back trunk of our car, and we get out a lint roller, and here's him and I lint rolling ourselves head to toe because we were covered in cat hair. We threw our socks out that day. It was just a great bonding session with Dad to be able to do that, and we ended up selling that house for that's house sold for $385. I still remember that price.
But we did get to meet Garfield.
We met Garfield the cat. She was so happy of her cat that she said was in a movie. I think he was maybe in a movie on I don't know, Children's Network or something for 4 minutes. But yeah, it was a fun time.
Yeah,
it was a real fun time. Remember that house you went to in New West? Remember the fork?
Ooh, that was a story. I remember it was with that was with Team Realty then, and we went into a house in New Westminster to do a little bit of a tour. We had our office. We used to do a little office tour with people in the office. So one of the guys had a listing there, and we went there, and this house was incredible. We walked into the home, and there was paperback books lined up on the wall, and 2 walls of the living room, and a pot-bellied stove in the corner. And we kind of figured, well, why was that there, right? And we found out later that the lady was collecting paperback books all over town in New Westminster. She'd go walk and collect them out of garbages, and she used them as Presto logs to heat her home. That's how she heated the whole house. And she put them in the pot-bellied stove, and those good old paperback novels would burn for hours, right? And but we went through the kitchen of this place, and the window was open, and on the windowsill there was a skeleton of a rat that was there with a barbecue fork stuck through it. 2 of the women in our office ran out of the house. It was so unbelievably creepy. But of course, the rest of us guys, we go, oh, well. And we go upstairs in this place, and when we walked upstairs to the bedrooms, I don't think anybody been up there in maybe 30, 40 years. Literally, the cobwebs came from the ceiling, and they went right down into the room where there was no way any of us were going to walk in the room. There was just no way. So we left, but...
Did you do video in there? Drone footage?
No. At that time, we were using a Polaroid camera, I think, the one you had to wait 60 seconds for it to develop or whatever. But yeah, that was one of the scariest ones I think I've ever been in. It was a weird place. But it ended up selling, and a guy renovated the house, and I remember seeing it years later sell for a lot more money. So that was a good story, that one. Yeah, absolutely.
My favorite thing working with Dad is just the sheer amount of knowledge that I've gained over the years. The amount of trust that people put in Dad, and I get to witness that, is truly unbelievable. I mean, he is my role model. We're lucky to do this almost 20 years, and still every day we come in and chat and work together, and I get to see my dad and work with him. And we've butted heads over the years, a lot of late nights in the car, because of course back when there was fax machines, or you had to drive around and get initials for every change, there was no DocuSign. We would be together long days, long nights, and we'd butt heads because we lived together as well. But just my favorite thing for sure with working with Dad is just that camaraderie that we have, the friendship that we've developed, and she's truly my best friend.
Yeah, I think from my standpoint, I was always a little bit hesitant and careful about wanting to be, around Ty full time, because of course we had a home life then too when you were at home as well, right? So, I was always careful about that. I didn't want him to think that I was, having him under my hand for all the time, every day, right? So I want him to have his own space too, right? So, and I've done that as best I can, right? So I know the knowledge and stuff like that rubs off on him because I've seen him work too, and he's amazing. I think that we are best friends, not only father and son, but I think we're like really best friends, right? Kind of thing. And I know that he'll come to me if he's got an issue, and I'll discuss those things with him when I have those. But working with him has been a pleasure all these years. I get a laugh out of it. Of course, it keeps me young too, because he's a young guy. He's got, of course, Devin, who's younger as well, and all his buddies that I see all the time at the shoots and stuff like that. Shoots as in photo shoots, I mean. But it's so for me, it sort of keeps me young as well, right? Because I loved. For me, I'm a people person, and I think that's a reason that I've been successful in all these years, and probably one of the reasons that I got the John Armineau Award was you got to be a people person, right, in this business. I think it's important, right? And so for us to be this close together after all these years, and honestly, I can say I've never had an argument with my son, in business, right? And I think that's a great thing, right? So I'm looking forward to continuing that relationship and moving forward with some of these episodes, because I've got some good stories of some people that worked with us as well, right? So
cheers, Deb.
Yeah, cheers.
Cheers to episode 1. We look forward to many more, sharing more stories, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks for watching.